Okay, let's unpack this. As a Hollywood actress, I know better than anyone that we live in a culture that slavishly worships youth, and where real women are gradually stripped of their sexual power. But don't underestimate a real woman. You want to see sexy, I'll show you sexy. That's Lisa Rinna. Pretty bold start, huh?
It really is.
Yeah.
And then you have Harry Hamlin saying, sex, and by that I mean great sex is a big part of what keeps us together and strong.
Yeah, it immediately sets the stage, doesn't it? Like, this isn't just fluff, it's central to their long-term thing.
Exactly. It grabs you and says, look, intimacy in a long relationship, it takes work, it's important.
Totally. And that's where we're going today. We heard from our listener. You were looking for a way to, get a handle on keeping that spark alive, maybe reigniting it.
Without getting buried under tons of information. You wanted some real aha moments.
You got it. So today's deep dive is into the big, fun, sexy sex book, and the authors, an interesting pair. Lisa Rinna, yeah, the actress, and Ian Kerner, the sex counselor.
That combination is quite unique, isn't it? You've got the Hollywood frankness, maybe, and the clinical expertise. It suggests a pretty rounded view.
I think so, too. And their goal seems pretty clear. Help people get back a mind-blowing sex life, whether it's the first time finding it or, bringing it back from the brink.
And they both come at it from experience, right? Long-term relationships, dealing with kids, careers, the whole juggling act.
Exactly. They've lived it. Which probably makes it relatable for a lot of people listening. Life gets in the way, work, kids. Suddenly intimacy isn't top of the list anymore.
That's a common story. They actually say whatever the reasons.
Yeah.
Whether you're frazzled or have simply grown too lazy, sex is no longer a priority. And that's a problem.
Right. But here's the encouraging bit, and why we're diving in. They're adamant it's never too late. They call the book Rocket Fuel.
Rocket fuel. I like that. So it's meant to give you that push, that inspiration maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Whether you're facing something specific, just curious, or want to boost things generally. So how do we actually, make that happen? What's their plan?
That's the key question. What's the roadmap here?
Well, that's what we're exploring. We'll look at their core ideas like the importance of effort, being aware, staying positive, that foundation.
Okay, the mindset stuff.
Then we get into the chemistry, attraction, libido, what's going on biologically, and navigating different sex drives in a couple, how to compromise.
Ah, the libido mismatch. That comes up a lot.
For sure. Plus, stress, how that messes things up, and this thing called tour play.
Tour play. Okay, I'm intrigued.
Right, and there's more. Confidence, body image, getting adventurous with toys or role play, even talking about porn together.
Wow, they cover a lot of ground.
They really do. Common sexual issues for men and women, sex during pregnancy, after kids, keeping it going as you age. Lisa calls it being foxy over 50.
Foxy over 50, nice.
And then some practical exercises they suggest trying.
So for someone wanting that quick but thorough understanding, what's the most helpful part?
I think it's how they mix the why with the how. It's not just theory. It's like actual things you can try. And don't worry, we'll pull out the main points and some memorable bits without, drowning you in details.
Good plan. So let's start at the beginning, this her concept from Lisa. What's that about?
Okay, HR. It stands for hyper-awareness, effort, and responsibility. Lisa really pushes being super aware of your partner, the relationship's vibe.
Hyper-aware. So like really tuning in, not just going through the motions.
Exactly. Noticing the small stuff, the mood shifts, spotting negativity creeping in, and actively choosing to value them.
That takes conscious effort, doesn't it? Which leads right into the E.
It does. Effort. They hammer this home. No relationship thrives on autopilot. You've got to actively give attention, ask for it too, and understand that, keeping the connection strong is work.
And R for responsibility. That sounds like owning your part in it.
Precisely. Both partners being accountable for the relationship's health, intimacy included. And to back this up, they mentioned Dr. John Gottman's research.
Ah, the 5.1 ratio guy.
That's the one. 5 positive interactions for every negative one. That's what successful couples tend to have. It really shows how much positivity matters.
5 to 1. Wow.
Now,
It highlights how those everyday good moments, even small ones, build up that positive feeling.
totally. And they give simple examples like making time for date nights, getting out of the house routine, or even just a 30-second hug.
A 30-second hug.
Yeah. Apparently, research shows a hug that long can boost oxytocin, the bonding hormone, in both people. They suggest aiming for like 3 of those a day.
That's surprisingly doable. And a nice physical connection point.
And to keep things exciting, boost that dopamine, the pleasure chemical, they say. Bring in novelty.
Shake things up a bit.
Could be simple stuff. New lingerie, trying a different position, or even role-playing, like pretending you're strangers meeting for the first time.
That idea of injecting novelty is key, isn't it? Fights off that predictability that can set in.
Okay, so that's the emotional groundwork. Now let's talk chemistry. Attraction, libido, the science bit. The book talks about that initial phase where you're almost like chemically obsessed.
Oh yeah, the biology is fascinating. There's a surge of specific stuff. Neutrophins, testosterone levels actually shift, nerve growth factor goes up.
It's like your body's screaming, pay attention! But, and this is key for people wishing that intensity lasted forever, those love molecules, they tend to settle down after about 2 years.
Right. And that's crucial to understand. It's not that love is fading, it's just the chemistry is evolving. It's a natural transition.
Exactly. But the good news, stable relationships tend to run on oxytocin, that glue hormone we mentioned. So the ongoing challenge is to, consciously add novelty to keep the dopamine flowing too.
So understanding that shift is important. From the initial high to something more sustained, built on connection and deliberate excitement.
Precisely. They also get into different libido types. Maybe you started with someone super passionate and then things seem to cool off. The book suggests it might not be fundamental change, but hormonal shifts impacting their drive. If you're naturally in sync, maybe it's no big deal, but if your libidos are mismatched, that's where issues pop up.
And recognizing these different types can sort of normalize things, right? Desire isn't the same for everyone, and it changes.
And here's a really cool point. How you perceive your sexual compatibility matters more than having identical desires. If you both believe you can navigate differences and find satisfaction together.
That's powerful. It shifts focus from needing a perfect match to having confidence in your ability to connect, regardless.
So how do you navigate those differences? The book talks about meeting in the middle, and they stress it's about giving of yourself, not giving up yourself.
That's a subtle but really important distinction, isn't it? It's about generosity and exploration, not resentment or sacrifice.
Yeah. And they suggest an exercise, what turns you on? Journaling. Each person writes down their fantasies, privately, no judgment.
Interesting.
Just sharing those, even if you don't act on them all, can apparently be really intimate and arousing.
That makes sense. Just being that vulnerable and open about your desires can be a connector in itself.
And for couples where maybe one likes routine, the other craves excitement, they specifically suggest role-playing. They even cite a study.
Oh, yeah.
Where couples pretended to be strangers on a first date and found it actually rekindled romance.
That's a great way to tap into that newness feeling we talked about, but within the safety of the relationship.
Okay, let's switch gears slightly. Stress. Something that can just kill the mood, right? The
Yeah.
book makes it clear how stress hits libido hard for both women and men.
Oh, absolutely. Physiologically, stress hormones directly interfere with the hormones needed for desire and arousal. It's a known thing.
And this is where it gets, really practical. They talk about chore play.
Chore play. Tell me more.
Okay, so apparently for a lot of women, seeing their partner actually doing chores, vacuuming, laundry, whatever, can be surprisingly effective foreplay.
Huh. It sounds funny, but it makes perfect sense. That mental load, the feeling of being solely responsible for the household, it's exhausting and a total passion killer.
Exactly. They link it to the second shift, coming home from work to more work. If a partner steps up, shares that load, it genuinely makes sex more appealing. It frees up mental space.
It's about feeling seen, supported, like a real team. Reducing that overwhelm creates room for intimacy.
They also talk about how hard it is to stay in the moment during sex if your mind's racing with lists and worries.
A mental chatter, yeah.
So they suggest things like exercise, yoga, walking, even simple stretches to calm the mind, boost mood, maybe even strengthen the core, which doesn't hurt.
Right. Exercise helps manage stress hormones and releases mood-boosting endorphins. Double win.
Okay, let's talk confidence. Body image. This is huge for so many people. Lisa shares her own story, feeling self-conscious, and how doing something scary like Dancing with the Stars boosted her confidence overall.
That's a great point. Confidence isn't just innate. Sometimes you build it by pushing your boundaries, trying new things.
And she encourages you, the listener, to think about something you've always wanted to try, something maybe a bit scary, believing that building confidence outside the bedroom helps inside it.
That ripple effect.
She even mentions Barbra Streisand being impressed that Lisa makes her sex life a priority, like puts real effort in.
Wow, Babs. That's quite the endorsement. It normalizes making intimacy an active pursuit.
The book then gets into female anatomy basics,
Mm.
clearing up confusion, especially around the word vagina,
Hmm.
defining vulva, labia, vagina itself, perineum, anus.
Just having that correct terminology and understanding is empowering, both for women understanding their own bodies and for couples talking about pleasure.
And they reassure people. Those perfect, porn standard genitals. Not the reality. Most partners are happy. What's really attractive, they say, is self-acceptance, body confidence.
Totally. Research backs that up. A positive view of your own body, including genitals, links to better sexual function for women. Confidence is the aphrodisiac.
Okay, hold on, because now the book really opens up the playbook. New adventures. We're talking toys, role-playing, exhibitionism, BDSM basics, even anal play.
Wow. Okay. So really exploring the spectrum.
Yeah. They discuss how toys, especially vibrators, are pretty mainstream now. How they can help with desire, arousal, lubrication, orgasm, for both women and men.
Different types too, right? Clitoral, G-spot, couples toys.
All sorts. They see them as tools to add to the fun, new sensations. Then role-playing, tapping into that playful dress-up side. Doctor Nurse, strangers, they even suggest a lingerie store fashion show as a fun starter.
Recapturing that sense of play. And they found women are often more adventurous.
Apparently so. Which might surprise some people. It kind of suggests both partners should feel free to bring up curiosities.
Definitely. No judgment.
They touch on exhibitionism, suggesting safer ways to explore it, like a secluded spot or maybe leaving underwear at home if that feels thrilling and safe.
Again, within mutual comfort and consent. Always.
Then BDSM basics. Dominant submission, sadism, masochism. But they stress heavily the need for a safe word. Starting slow, clear communication, absolute safety.
Crucial. Safety, consent, communication, non-negotiable for BDSM exploration.
And finally, anal sex. Addressing the taboo, emphasizing communication, lots of lube, going slow, fingers first, maybe clitoral stimulation alongside it, safety with condoms, cleaning toys.
Yeah, essentials for exploring that comfortably and safely. They mentioned the prostate, the P-spot, and analingus too.
Briefly, yeah. The main message seems to be communicate, go slow, prioritize comfort and safety.
Makes sense. So what about porn? That's often a tricky subject.
Right. The book acknowledges views are changing, more female-focused stuff is out there now.
The landscape has definitely shifted.
But they also flag potential downsides, like maybe feeling less motivated for real sex, or self-esteem hits if one partner feels inadequate compared to performers.
Yeah, those comparisons can be tough.
But they reassure folks a partner's porn use probably isn't about you or your attractiveness.
That's an important message. Open, non-judgy chats about it are key, though, to head off misunderstandings.
Totally. They even suggest DIY porn as a fun couple activity, and easing into watching together with sexy R-rated movies, first like 9.5 weeks, Body Heat, those kinds of films.
Easing in.
And they bust some myths, unrealistic bodies, sex always leading to orgasm in porn, etc. Trying to give it some perspective.
Good. Separating fantasy from reality is important there.
Okay, nearly there. We have to touch on sexual issues. The book covers female sexual dysfunction, acknowledging it's complex, not one single thing, often psychological factors involved.
Right, it's a broad term. Highlights that mind-body connection in female sexuality.
They discuss physical causes, hormones, meds, and emotional ones like depression, anxiety, trauma. Specific things like FSAD, arousal disorder, and HSDD, desire disorder.
Suggesting things like lubes, toys, maybe medical devices like gyros.
Yeah, and painful sex, too. Looking at causes like dryness, infections, other conditions. The bottom line seems to be talk about it, see a doctor if needed.
Absolutely. Getting professional advice for persistent pain or low libido is crucial.
Lisa even shares her own experience of needing to actively work on feeling sexy again after kids. It just shows how important being open with your partner is.
That vulnerability is powerful, helps you navigate it together.
Then they cover common male issues. ED, erectile disorder. Stressing is rarely about the partner's attractiveness.
Right, more often physical stuff, stress, anxiety.
Exactly. Ejaculation issues premature, PE, and delayed. DE, low libido, even sex addiction, though they note it's controversial. For each, they outline causes and potential solutions, lifestyle changes, therapy, meds.
It's a good overview, showing that help is available and partner support matters hugely.
Okay, shifting to life changes. Kids. The book mentions the sex recession after kids arrive, stressing the need to actively prioritize relationship satisfaction.
Parenthood is a massive shift, right?
What?
It changes everything, including intimacy. Acknowledging that is step one.
They talk about trying to conceive how it can get stressful, feel like a chore, affecting both partners. Then pregnancy, reassuring that sex is usually safe, can even be better for some.
Suggesting positions focusing on comfort.
Yeah. Lisa apparently felt really sensual during her pregnancies.
Adapting to the changes, finding what works.
And after the baby, their honest parental sex satisfaction often drops. Exhaustion, body image stuff, feeling like just mom, dad, maybe even trauma from witnessing birth.
Real challenges. So what solutions do they offer?
Practical stuff. Scheduling sex sounds unromantic but can work. Finding quick moments. Lisa's quick getaway idea. And reminding folks that more sex can actually boost drive. For women, desire often follows arousal, the gift of sex.
So it requires more intention, creativity, communication.
Definitely. And addressing roadblocks like maybe porn issues, but also reassuring partners they're likely still found attractive, even turned on by the other being apparent.
That reassurance is important.
Finally, aging. Keeping intimacy alive, being foxy over 50. They challenge stereotypes, say health matters more than age number.
Yeah, bust those myths about aging and sexuality.
They discuss hormonal changes, lower estrogen for women, falling testosterone or andropause for men, and give advice for boosting libido, dealing with arousal issues for both.
It's about adapting, communicating evolving needs. Sex doesn't expire.
They highlight intimate gestures beyond just P&V sex, eye contact, longer hugs, and maybe even specific toys that work well for older bodies.
And often that deep knowledge of each other, built over years, can make intimacy richer, maybe even less inhibited.
So to wrap it all up, the book has this 10-step sex workout, basically 10 sexercises to get you out of your comfort zone.
A toolkit for action? Like
Yeah.
what?
Things like solo sexy time, but thinking of your partner, sensual sex, using all senses, dirty talk, erotic massage, mutual masturbation, long-lasting sex slowing down, show off, mild exhibitionism, fantasy fulfillment, playtime with toys, and the first time, again, that stranger role flex.
Sounds like a fun homework assignment.
Right. So the big takeaway for you listening, a great sex life long-term doesn't just happen. It needs that hyper-awareness, the effort, the responsibility, open talk, trying new things, and feeling good about yourself.
It's a journey, ups and downs, but staying actively engaged is key at any age, any stage.
Exactly. It's about feeling empowered to take charge of this part of your life individually and together.
So we encourage you, listener, to think about what resonated today. Maybe pick one small idea to talk about with your partner, or even try out.
Yeah, start small. Initiate a conversation.
And remember, there are resources out there, books like this, therapists if you want more support.
So here's a final thought to leave you with. Maybe the biggest secret to great sex isn't just one technique. Maybe it's the ongoing commitment. The commitment to really understanding and appreciating your partner's changing desires and your own. Keep exploring that. Keep prioritizing it.